No.
If you listen very, very hard and very, very quietly, you can hear it. That's the sound of Speedway shooting itself in the foot again. Wednesday the 8th of September, Birmingham versus Redcar, where another nail in the Speedway coffin, if I can mix my metaphors, was hammered in. Was the track rideable or not? Well, the first 4 heats with the fastest combined times of the season would suggest it was. But to be honest, none of that is the problem for me. The problem is the way that Speedway conducts itself, giving rise once again to the phrase, only in Speedway.
And we're straight in, Michael.
Good evening, everybody.
Thoughts? You've just depressed us all now.
Okay. Well, you arrived depressed after last night's
Just a bit, yes. We'll cross onto that at some point in the show, no doubt.
Thoughts on what I've just said, though?
Well, it was a disaster, wasn't it? It was, again, another. It's more unwanted publicity for Birmingham Speedway, but it's not self-inflicted, is it? It's again we talk about this thing about perception and
exactly right.
Redcar. They're only 200 miles apart from each other. Redcar again. The perception is Redcar will lose in the meeting, so we're happy with the track.
Well, you do have to ask the question. Would Redcar have made such a noise about the track if they had been 8 points behind?
And if they hadn't had 2 previous controversial visits to Perry Bar.
But to be honest, none of that is the problem for me. So for me to give an opinion, just follow me with this one. For me to give an opinion on the state of the track and if it was rideable or not, yes, I can do that. And I will give you that opinion. My opinion is that it was rideable and that those track times would suggest it. Also, I spoke to a few riders as well, not Birmingham or Redcar riders, but older riders. I can't tell you what they said, but you can.
That's a waste of time, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can guess, the sort of comments that were coming out. But for me to give that opinion as a de facto opinion would then obviously bring the criticism of riders, and I think Michael Palmtoft has said something of the like, that I've never put my leg over a Speedway bike, I've never ridden a Speedway bike in anger, so how can I know that?
Mm-hmm.
Which then begs the question, doesn't it? How can that referee who's never put a leg over a Speedway bike and never ridden a bike in anger, how can that referee or any referee that hasn't give an honest, not honest opinion, but what's the word I'm looking for? An opinion based on fact.
Mm-hmm.
How can they? So you've got a person, a referee is only a person after all, being bombarded from one side saying, oh yes, it's ready, it's rideable, and being bombarded from another side saying it's unrideable, which for me was ridiculous. But what's that person supposed to do? What are they basing that on? They can only base it on those. Which one shouts the loudest, surely?
I think that was in essence, that seemed to be, without being in the pits and knowing exactly what was going on, that seemed to be the problem, to be honest. I was up in the top bar, and an off-duty referee. I'm not going to tell you his name at any point, but he commented to me that there was nothing wrong with the track. So,
right. I mean, let's be as honest as we possibly can here. The track wasn't perfect.
No.
It was a bit bumpy. It wasn't perfect.
I thought it was worse after the work had been done on it, to be honest. Cause
that's exactly what I was going to say. It was horrible after the work had been done. and there was a ruddy great hole that appeared in the first bend, which wasn't there before, because we took it down to the base. Now, Birmingham knows that the track hasn't been great this year, but come on, there's reasons for that.
Yeah.
Not least of which is not being able to touch the track until like 6 weeks before the season started, after it's been left fallow for 18 or more months.
Yeah.
And it's been getting better and better and better. My issue with the whole thing is not... It's this perception thing again. It's exactly that perception. Red car people have a perception that we're trying to make them kill themselves, and Birmingham have the perception that red car are cheating.
Yeah.
That's the perception. I'm not saying either of those things is true, but it's perception is king. And the thing about it is, it's so easy to put right. And I've been thinking about this quite a lot, as you can probably tell. It's very, very easy to put right. And I mean, I'll come on to that in a minute. Have we got any comments up at the moment?
I'll get to them shortly.
Well, how do they put comments on, by the way? Because
Yes.
Mr. Harris, in his excitement, missed the plug for that. So.
I did.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll get down to...
What language was that?
Birmingham track was fine. First 4 heats, good racing, before they ripped it up as it was like a dust bowl.
I wouldn't
and took
say
away
it was
the
good racing.
Can I finish off what I was saying?
Okay, sorry.
Said Elliot Hunt.
It wasn't brilliant, to be honest. I don't think the track. I don't think the track at Birmingham has been fantastic for the last 3 or 4 weeks. To be honest, I didn't think the previous 2 meetings against Poole and Plymouth was particularly fantastic racing. But there's a borderline between the track being not very good and the track being dangerous. The track certainly wasn't dangerous.
No. Well, any more than a speedway track is a dangerous place to be.
The only way you can make a speedway track, hardly says, if you don't have any bikes on it.
Well,
So
that's right. That's it, yeah. So is that it so far? So how can people join in?
Okay, so if you're on Facebook somewhere, then you've probably found us. So we're on Facebook. We're on all good Facebook pages and groups. We're also on YouTube, so just search for UK Speedway Tavern. And we're also on Twitter, same, search for UK Speedway Tavern. Thank you.
Eric Parsons said,
Whoop, go back up.
thank you
There
very
we go.
much. Today's modern speedway bikes are just not suitable for rough, deep tracks. Was it not the case riders asked for slicker tracks? But I wouldn't have said that track was particularly deep on Wednesday. And also, I don't think Chris Harris had any trouble with it. I don't think Lewis Carr had any trouble with it. I mean, Lewis Carr was
fastest time of the season, wasn't it?
yeah, and he was going on. He was going on the parts of the track that hadn't been bladed off.
Yeah. In fairness to Bomber, he'll ride. I mean, I think if you stuck landmines all over the track, Bomber is still right. It wouldn't need to be fair.
We should say congratulations to Bomber for winning the grass track.
And of course,
Masters.
James was second, wasn't he?
Second,
So,
yeah. So perhaps we should turf the track. I don't know.
Evening, chaps. Frustrated as can be after last night's result at Wolves. But I'll leave that there for now.
Oh, don't you worry. We will be talking about
I think
that.
there's a bit of a silly rivalry forming between Brum and Redcar from everyone I know. I feel a bit for Brum's promotion because it's bad publicity for no apparent reason. That's going back to the racing.
One thing I will say that was great.
the atmosphere.
The
afterwards
atmosphere
it was brilliant, wasn't it? You know, particularly when the red car. I don't think the red car riders did themselves any favours with their over exuberant celebrations after the last eight. To be honest,
no.
Yeah, but he did spice up quite a bit of rivalry. There was one or two things I heard shouted that I didn't agree with, but I won't obviously repeat those ones.
No.
But
always happens, I guess.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Yeah, it was good. It was the atmosphere was the tension. It was, you know, you could.
Yeah.
The old saying, you could cut it with a knife. You really could. So that was great. So I'd love to see,
especially if Redcar ended up coming back in the playoffs.
Exactly right. But that would be my hope. That would be great, wouldn't it? That would, from a financial point of view, it's going to, it's going to, a lot of people are going to be there. But so I don't think the rivalry is silly. I think it's actually useful, and there should be more of it. But I do feel bad for the Brum promotion myself, because it is bad publicity, and they've had everything that can possibly go wrong this year, and they didn't exactly have a sale-free season. The season before the
COVID
season thing, that's the best way of saying it.
Elliot says he agrees. It's absolutely correct, Brian. Their fans did my head in. Lots of noise and nasty words.
Don't mind the noise. Nasty words, there's no need for it.
Got to remember that all the tracks lay dormant for a while. Season got to affect the tracks in some way.
Yes, and it did. I mean, if you'd seen that track, and it wasn't just the fact that it'd been laid dormant, we couldn't get onto the track until about, I think it was something like 6 weeks before, because of COVID rules and because of greyhound rules and all sorts of things. And then we was only allowed to get on there for a certain amount of time on Saturdays. It wasn't enough time to get the track right. It just wasn't. And it was like, I can't describe the track. It wasn't in a good condition, because the wind going down had shifted all the shale. It looked like mountains in parts, and it wasn't good.
Riders themselves just as much to blame, with today's modern super fast bikes only suitable for slick tracks, says Eric.
Do you know what? I know there is some truth in that, but I don't think it's as bad as some people make out. I think a lot of it, some of the riders aren't suitable for tracks, because that's what they haven't got used to that. But you look at somebody like Bomber, he doesn't have any trouble with.
No, he doesn't. They drive a potato field, wouldn't he, Bomber, to be fair?
So anyway. Interesting that Brian Buck says I sat back for Wolves last night, but it may have been the reality check they needed and made them realise that they are not invincible on their own track. Thoughts?
Fair point. It's a fair point, to be fair, isn't it? I mean, listen, there was no complaints from me about the result last night. I thought Peterborough completely did the job on Wolves, to be honest. They just ground us down in the end. They're solid all the way through. I don't think Pete Adams is used to the RR rule for Royce Lyon. Should say as well, obviously get well soon, Royce Lyon. Obviously Roy's been laid low with COVID, so obviously self-isolating. But RR at number 5 is never really ideal, because it leaves you in a position where you've got a rider replacement with a reserve, and if you've got reserves that aren't really firing, then it might have been better maybe to have jigged the team around and maybe put Nick Morris at 5 and have the RR at 3, but
or even at 2.
Yeah, then leaving the leaving a position where Leon Flint has, as much effort as he put in last night, ended up going in heat 13. Was just, I think was obviously disappointing, and I think that really just did for Wolves in the end. Not taking anything away from Peterborough, but I think Rob Lyon completely outwitted Peter Adams from start to finish in the meeting, to be honest, and that's going to give Peterborough a bit of a psychological advantage going into the playoffs, of course, because they've still got 3 meetings and they could still finish top, and who's to say who they're going to pick in the.
Well,
they may pick Wolves. They may pick Wolves. I think the matches over the season will probably show that Peterborough shouldn't really have any fear of Wolves over the 2 legs, to be honest. I mean, we don't generally do very well at the showground. We're normally beaten there before we start because of the size of the track.
Okay.
They've done well against Bellevue and Sheffield as well.
Right, I need to stop the conversation for just a second. There's a couple of thoughts come on the chat box. I've lost the power of speech, which I will go through, and then hopefully we're going to have Lawrence Rogers on the phone.
I'll set up to call him, so I'll give him a call in a couple of minutes.
So when DJ and Barrett says there was grass growing on the Perry Bar track the first Saturday we could have access to it, This is true.
Yeah.
The track, a bomber would have loved that. Alan Norville asks, what access do Birmingham have to the track during the week? We have limited access at weekends, and nothing during the week apart from on the Wednesday. Richard Langston says they thought Peterborough was superb last night.
Yeah, they were excellent. You know, they thoroughly deserved the win last night.
Dylan Spuddy Hodgett says, I think the reality check for Wolves was losing Dougie from reserve. I think he could have been extremely useful at reserve for the playoffs. Brock wasn't great last night, not making gates, and I think he just felt a bit of pressure. Leon looked decent again though. Don't think Sam is completely comfortable being skipper either. I think someone like Nick may have benefited more from it. Let Sam focus on being number one and the pressures that come with it.
Yeah, it was a fair point. I mean, it looked a little bit disorganised really last night, to be honest, from a Wolves perspective. Gating wasn't very good. Brock Nichols struggled the last few weeks, I think, and I think that's a fair point that Dylan's made there. I think having Ryan Douglas at reserve was a bit of a trump card for Wolves, and obviously, you know, Peterborough have got the advantage of having Hans Anderson at reserve. I mean, fortunately, Bjarne Pedersen didn't come to the party last night, because I think Peterborough would have had the meeting sewn up long before 8:15 if he had.
No comment from a Brummie supporter on that one. Okay, so this is my sort of take on what actually went wrong on Wednesday and how I think it can be put right. And I think what went wrong was how I said that the way Speedway conducts itself, we're letting somebody decide on whether a track is suitable to ride from pressure from lots of different sources with no actual knowledge of riding a Speedway bike. So surely the easy answer is you have an old rider, an ex-rider at every track that doesn't have an affiliation with either of the two clubs involved, and he walks the track before anybody else does and gives his opinion on that track, reports that to the referee, doesn't have any interaction with any of the teams at all, reports that to the referee, and then that's set in gold, that's set in stone, and the match goes on. And the only reason you can then stop the match for the track is if something has happened to the track
during the meeting.
During the meeting, either weather or something to do with an accident or something like that. Surely, and then at that point, that rider he makes that decision, not the referee. Who, I think it's unfair pressure on the referee. I really think it's unfair. So there you go. That's my answer. I believe we have Lawrence Rogers on the phone.
We have.
Hello, mate.
Hello, Lawrence.
How are you doing?
All right. Well, sat here at the track, mate. We're still working here. Getting ready for tomorrow.
Okay. And how's the track looking?
It's like a circle with brown stuff on it.
That's a stupid question.
No, it's looking good, as it was for the first 4 races against Redcar last week.
Absolutely. Well, I haven't got any arguments on that, as you know. Did you hear what I just said?
I heard the last end part of it, yes, but yes, an independent ex-rider.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that takes it out of the referee's hands. It also takes it out of the home club's hand and the away club's hand.
You can take that to the AGM, Lawrence, I think. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it on my long list.
Yeah. So, I mean, what can you say about last week? I imagine there's things that you can say and can't say.
Can't say too much fully at the moment because naturally we are asking the authorities to look into it. Because we were not pleased. I think you saw I wasn't pleased.
Yes.
It's very rare that I get that S up, and I was S up at the end of the night.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll be totally honest. I was just saying to the lads in the studio that I had to take a rest from Speedway for a week. I mean, you obviously didn't have that luxury because I was seething at the end of the match. I've sort of calmed down a little bit now, but yeah, it was that sort of a night, really.
It was. It should never have happened, put it that way. And how much of it was manufactured, I don't know.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it, of course? And this is what we was talking about. It's this perception problem that Speedway sometimes have. and it shoots itself in the foot with all the time. So I think I remember saying to you on the night that I didn't feel that they would have been complaining about the track if they'd been in front.
Nope, they wouldn't have been.
So, but
We know that very well.
I mean,
We had some quick times as well in those first 4 heats. And, the track isn't perfect, and we know it's not perfect yet. It's getting there. And Priestley's, he was here till 1:45 again last week after the meeting, pulling it back, and he'd be here at 6:30 in the morning.
have we got the violins to play for that?
I actually.
You've been learning to play the violin, have you?
Oh no, I haven't. Sorry, I've only got a. That's close enough. Here you go.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't really, does it? So,
No.
I've had to sleep, Chris.
Okay.
Well, let's get on to some more sort of positive news. Congratulations to Bomber and James, of course.
Yep, nice 1 and 2 at the Masters.
And
Bomber's been waiting a long time for that to happen, and it was nice. He's bringing his trophies down tomorrow so people can see them and take pictures of them. Yeah.
that'll be great. And of course, obviously, he did rather well at Wolverhampton.
Just slightly, yeah.
Just a bit, yeah. He was gassing, wasn't he?
Just the one where the bike didn't want to go out the start. But,
Yeah. So tomorrow, have we got any news on the team for tomorrow?
yeah, you're at number 1. That's at 2. Chris at 3.
God, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Well,
That's a good team.
Valentine's back. He rode in Poland the weekend and felt okay. So hopefully he'll come back and show us what he was showing before the crash with Stefan the other week.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Shainesy was one of those, including Pomeranz, who took some falls at the grass track on Sunday. Couldn't make himself a cup of tea on Monday and ended up going to the hospital where they diagnosed broken bones in his hand. So,
Right.
Unfortunately, he's strapped up and ride replacement for him tomorrow.
Okay. Who can take his rides?
Everybody but Bomber.
Everybody but Bomber. Okay.
It's not too bad then, is it, sir?
Well, it is for James.
Yes, but we'll see in James.
So, yeah, an important match tomorrow then.
Very important
against
match.
Edinburgh.
We need the crowd to really get behind us. The crowd was superb last week with the noise they were making with all the problems going on. It was being milked by a certain team manager. It wasn't me.
I did notice that, yeah.
Yes, which wasn't helping the situation, but never mind. But yeah, we need the fans to get, bring some friends with you, bring your enemies with you. I don't care.
Don't bring any red car rides.
I'm not going to say a thing. But it is an important one for us because mathematically we can still make the playoffs despite last week's problem we had. We need to win the 2 home matches. We need to win at Newcastle and get something out of going to Glasgow, which we're capable of.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the toughest one out of all that would be the Glasgow.
Yeah,
it would. But
Oh, things happen in Speedway, as we found out this year.
We went to Edinburgh with 10 points up and drew, and only lost that one because of a Heat 15 decision.
Yeah. Which obviously is going to give the lads lots of confidence for tomorrow's meeting.
Obviously, the Newcastle one may be quite a highly emotional occasion, of course, because there's a possibility there might be the last match you see at Newcastle, which would be a real shame.
It would be a big shame, for that. We've got to unfortunately go there to take 4 points. That's the aim. Beat Edinburgh, beat Newcastle home, beat Newcastle away, then by more than 7 points. That gives us 10 points, which will take us to 33, which is equal with a few of the clubs who were on that at the moment. So it's tight. We can look back at lost points at Plymouth, where we should have won. Kenton, where we should have got something out of it. The Edinburgh one, it goes on. But the boys are still determined to make it. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, man, you do sort of get that from seeing them on the on the track and in the pits as I do, that they are a very tight unit.
Yeah.
Very tight. Yeah, the team spirit is amazing between them all. You know, anyone's got a problem, every one of them's there to help it, which is, you know, a big plus.
Thoughts on Jack Thomas, who all of a sudden seems to have just sort of clicked?
Yeah, all of a sudden he's gone kaput, you know, and scoring points everywhere. Yeah. You know, especially, you know, a couple of wins at Peterborough the other week. Mm-hmm. Then he blows his engine to pieces last week, unfortunately.
Oh.
Missed Edinburgh because that meeting had changed dates so many times, and he had a personal engagement he couldn't get out of, which was a pity because we could have done with him then. And we also missed Paco at Edinburgh because Paco was in the Italian Championship where he and Nico Cavati had another good battle.
Right.
Yeah.
Nico just about holding on to it, but there's 3 more rounds for him to beat Nico now.
Okay, well, I think he can do it because Paco's all of a sudden. I mean, the time that he registered for Heat 2 made me sit up and take notice last week.
Yeah.
So you know that was, and also Paco this year has changed the way he rides a little bit.
Yeah, he's just going. There's not just a white line. There's an outside. You know, I don't know about the nosebleeds, but he's managing well with them.
No, it's good to see. I mean, I've always said about Paco that he thinks about his racing and works it out. It sounds like seems that's what he's done in the close seasons. Mm-hmm. We should probably say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. About Jack. Of course, he's partnered in the pits right next door to Chris, and Chris seems to be really looking after him.
They've always gone very well because they worked together at Glasgow, and you know, Jack looks up to him there, and you know, Chris enjoys helping him. Well, he enjoys helping everybody because that's the nature of a bomber.
Yeah. I think he's probably got a future as a coach when he hangs up his leather.
Yeah, that'll be a long time on there.
Yeah, I think so. He's no reason for him to stop yet, is there?
Absolutely not.
He's still a teenager at heart.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
Seeing the way he gets up, I think he needs to have a crash once every month, and then he seems to get going again after it.
He'd rather not, though.
Yeah. I'm sure. Would you like to tell everybody what's happening at the track? Because we have all these things that go on at Birmingham these days, which is one of the really disappointing things about last Wednesday, that we couldn't get this stuff in that we tried to do. Yeah.
We're still doing the open pits until 10 to 7 with autograph sessions there. There's a different rider on the back page of the programme to sign, but they'll all sign anyway if you so wish. You know, we have the kids' games, which we unfortunately haven't been able to have for the last 2 weeks because of the problems and the late rain. And of course, we've also got the Centre Green experience, which fans seem to be loving. You know, if you go out there between the heat 11 and 14 and watch it from the middle, because the middle is the best place to watch Speedway, as you know, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Although I do notice that when they leave the track, they all look a bit dizzy.
They haven't got themselves sorted for that.
No. Perhaps you need to get an experienced person like me to show them how to do it. I'm not asking for a job, honestly.
How to twist your foot, yeah.
Anyway, thanks again, Lawrence. I mean, as we said, it's a very, very important match at Edinburgh against Edinburgh tomorrow.
It is.
So everybody get yourselves down there, and it'll be a good match as well, I'm thinking.
It will. It'll be a cracker.
Okay, thanks for coming on again, Lawrence. And
thanks.
You have to promise us one thing. If something comes of the representations you've made with Redcar, with that situation, you'll come on and let us know about it.
Of course. With great pleasure.
And if you do happen to suggest my suggestion to the BSPL, the AGM,
I shall put it on my long list. I said that my list is growing of things.
You can have that. You can have that one for free, mate.
Yes, well, that's another thing that I'm waiting to sort it out with the Sports Club and Tracy, that we're going to have a survey thing where people can put their ideas forward of what they think Speedway should be and any rule changes and everything else. So that will be going out by next week.
Brilliant, excellent idea. Thanks again, Lawrence.
No worry, mate.
You get back to that track and leave the electrics alone.
I won't touch them, won't I?
Thanks, Lawrence. See you tomorrow. Mate.
See you soon, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Always good value when he comes on.
Doesn't pull any punches, does he? Really? Does he?
No. And I
think the other thing we should say as well. David Dyson obviously came on the tannoy, during the enforced absence, enforced break last week. And to be fair to David, he sounded beaten almost, didn't he? I think you could tell really that he's just absolutely. It's up to here with him now, isn't it? Really,
and you can understand that the season has been just ridiculous. We've got a few comments to go through.
Just a few.
So we'll try and catch up with as many of us as we can before we do at the league table.
Okay. Crikey, yes. Okay, Neil says, what's your thoughts on the future of British Speedway with Newcastle now with no future? No one has come forward to buy the club, and there is also some issues with the stadium at Brough Park. What can be done to save the ever-declining sport in Britain? It's looking bad for Speedway teams up and down the country that are simply not getting the crowds to keep going and losing money before the meeting starts.
Would you want to go with that one first?
It's been a struggle for Newcastle for the last few years, though, isn't it? Obviously, you've got a soft spot for Newcastle. Obviously, got family up there. My mother's from up that way, so hopefully, fingers crossed that something can be done. They do manage to get a takeover. It's by all accounts not looking very, very likely at the moment. I mean, this is a historic club. I mean, this is a club that lists Ivan Major as its one of its former riders, and Ollie Olsen as well. Of course, I remember he was there for a couple of years at the start of his career. Yeah, Mickey Pedersen. Yeah, so it'd be fantastic. I mean, this is it's a big city as well, Newcastle. It's got a great pedigree up in the northeast. It would be a real shame, but again, another club that's struggled to compete. As other clubs have pushed on, unfortunately. And I think we discussed this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, on the show? There needs to be some element of fairness and just trying to make it affordable so that every club has got a fair chance of competing, not just the clubs that have got the bigger bank balances. Which isn't a criticism of those clubs, by the way, because they're perfectly entitled to that. But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think I can add an awful lot to that, other than Speedway. It's got to stop shooting itself in the foot.
Yeah,
with things like what happened. Because you imagine new people, and we get new people come every week because we're pushing hard at Birmingham to get new people. And we do get new people every week. If they've been there for the last 2 weeks, wait, and the kids are getting excited because they're going onto the centre green, and then they don't.
Yeah.
And for what? For no good reason that, as a supporter, you can see, particularly as a new supporter, and you're going, well, is it like this every week?
Yeah. Well, you knew things were a bit edgy last week because Ryan Guest was getting quite controversial on the tannoy at times, wasn't he? So which is unlike Ryan.
Not like Ryan.
Yeah.
Need quality control. Have a track inspector at every meeting. His job is to pass the track off safe before the meeting, and then have 2 riders from each team, 5 minutes each, to test the track, and they also have to pass it as safe.
Mind you, they did do that last week, didn't they, with Bomber and Charles Wright?
Yeah, but they didn't give the riders the chance to say yes or no. That was the referee watching them go around to see how they did.
Yeah.
I definitely do not think that you should have riders from both teams going round and then giving them a say on whether the track's right or wrong.
Yeah.
That's just open to abuse. For instance, last Wednesday, if we'd have done that, there's no doubt that red car would have said no. However, having somebody to go around beforehand is, in my opinion, the right idea. An ex-rider would be the best situation, but that person has not to have any interaction with the track staff or the track promotions. The only interaction that person has is with the referee.
Yep.
That way that you can't be nobbled to, it's about making it. It's this perception thing. It's making everything look above.
We like
board.
that word, don't we, in this place? Perception.
Yeah, that was great perception. That's my thoughts on that anyway. And of course, they are only my thoughts. And I have them occasionally, thoughts, that is.
Not always
Can you,
right.
keep
All
can you
opinions.
keep those thoughts to yourself? Sir?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Very sad to observe how things have deteriorated at Newcastle and feel very sorry for Rob Grant, the promoter, who's been plagued by misfortune all season. Must be totally frustrated. My wife is a Geordie, eh? Born in... That was
your Welsh accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was the Geordie accent.
Well, my name's Cheryl Kulik. Born in Biker, and although she isn't a great Speedway fan, she thinks it would be a tragedy if the Diamonds do go under.
Can't disagree with any of that, really.
And Elliot says, great to hear from Lawrence, very positive and loads of info regarding tomorrow.
Lawrence is always positive.
It's the only way to be.
He wasn't so positive last week. What's Craig up to?
So Craig says, I've not managed to watch back the weekend's GP
Yes, we should
yet,
talk about
but
this.
seen the horrific Lindgren crash. Do we all agree that the air fence has probably saved his life there? Or at least a serious injury? He just didn't slow down and hit the fence at full speed. Remarkable how he walked away, really. That was some crash, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that it, controversial comments coming up. I'm not so sure that actually that the air fence didn't cause some of the problems there, because if the air fence hadn't have been there, he was going along the fence, he wouldn't have come to such a quick stop.
Well, there's no air fence along the straight, remember?
So that's gone into the,
It went in, yeah. They did. There was a period when they did put
Yes, I
air
remember,
fences
and
on,
then it kept-
and people kept getting sucked into it. So,
Yeah.
and it took them about 2 or 3
well,
years before
well, I-
somebody finally,
I take my controversial remark back.
yes, and you know what you can do with it as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But no, I mean, Freddie was. I
It was
mean,
horrible
Certainly,
accident.
certainly saved him from very serious injury. I mean, if that had been a board fence or something like that, or the old famous steel fence that they had at Exeter, then
A steel
we could have-
fence.
Steel fence.
yeah, they had a steel fence at Exeter.
It's like having a chocolate teapot, isn't it?
Yes. You certainly have to have your wits right in there, I know that. So,
Particularly when it's a funny shape as well, Exeter.
yeah, but no, it was, fantastic to see him get up and walk away from that, to be honest. I mean, probably a very clever move as well, that he protected his body as he went into the fence, just, bracing himself for the impact.
I thought it was a double whammy as well, the way the bike then followed straight. It seemed to go straight into his back from what I could see.
Yeah.
And that-
But he's hard as nails, Freddie. He's, to be fair. I mean, I've seen him have some pretty horrendous crashes, and he's got up and walked away from me. So he sort of made a rock, I think, to be honest.
Okay, a couple more. We'll look at Simon Corbett's in a moment.
Okay.
Need a quality control, have a track quality inspector before, and then Eric Parsons says that he believes tracks are before the start. Well, yes, the referee does.
Yeah.
But I refer you to my comments that I made earlier. The referee has not put their leg over a speedway bike and hasn't raced a bike in anger. And if, as somebody once said to me last week, if my opinion doesn't count for anything for that very reason, then why does the referee's opinion count for that same reason?
That's a fair point.
So,
We'll do this last one and then we'll go into our predictions, yeah? I need to get them up.
okay, yeah, I like this one, but do you want to read this one here, Dylan?
Yep, interesting that young Billy Budd went round, albeit not as fast as a racing speed. But if a young lad can go around safely and say he found it fine, why can't the experienced guys?
I'm obviously biased right here. I'm going to
Answers. I mean, I suppose playing devil's advocate a little bit. He's not going at full. Billy Budd wasn't going at full race speed, was he? So I suppose there's that argument. But and there wasn't anybody else on the track that he could run into either. So, but it is a fair point. I mean, he didn't seem to have any particular problems getting around the track, did he? So
No. That's it. We seem to have lost all of our comments.
Yeah, cause I'm going to get the matches up, aren't I?
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to start very soon doing our
you You're going to restart doing them, you mean?
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest to everybody. After what happened last week, I was quite annoyed. And I decided that I needed to take a break.
I have put tonight's fixtures on the group, by the way.
Yeah.
So if you don't put them on the feed, do we put them on the feed or are we putting them on the group? Which is
put them on the group page. Yeah, it's a lot easier. Everybody can go on there as well. Yeah.
Okay, so
it's easier for me, please.
If you want to take part, this is how you take part.
How do you take part? Well, you can go onto the group. Go onto our group page.
Which group page?
Okay, it's the UK Speedway Tavern group page. So if on Facebook.
Thank you.
There is a page, so you can go to the page which leads you to the group. It's the group you want. Thank you very much.
And you could even be ever so nice and put a link up for them in a minute.
Oh, it's certainly good.
Yeah. There you go.
Maybe.
Good.
Okay, so there's the tables. Oh, I haven't slipped that far back, really, have I?
Neither of you have, actually.
I missed two.
Considering I haven't done any results for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that you're not very good.
Says the man who's below him, so.
But he doesn't know nothing about speed.
I know,
so
look at that.
I'm
1 point. 1 point behind.
It's on.
We have to have some money on this.
I must admit, I wouldn't have picked Peterborough to have beaten Wolves yesterday. So
I did actually go for a Wolves home win by 6, so I got the score right, just the wrong way around. I was actually toying with the idea of swapping it round, to be honest, but
you mean cheating?
Loyalty got the better. No, before the meeting, to be fair, but loyalty did get the better of me. So, but I did have a bit of a trepidation going into that meeting last night, to be honest. So
okay. Right, shall we get started with this?
Okay.
Then?
So the first one is Birmingham against Edinburgh tomorrow night.
Birmingham versus Edinburgh, and as tradition would have it, you start.
Well, I'll give it to about heat 5 before somebody starts complaining. No.
I bet they'd better not.
Birmingham by 4.
Okay.
I'll go Birmingham by 6.
And because we need to do this, I'm going to say Birmingham by 10.
Mm-hmm. All the pressure is really on Birmingham in that one, isn't it? It's a must-win. So
absolutely. And then I can't. Where are we?
Sheffield against Peterborough next.
Thank you very much. Sheffield versus Peterborough. That's up to you.
Me? Sorry.
Yes,
Sheffield,
you.
Sheffield versus
That's going to be an
Peterborough.
interesting one.
I'll go Peterborough by 4.
I'm going to say Peterborough by 8.
Come on, Sheffield. Sorry, did I say that loud? I'll go Peterborough by 4 on that one.
Armadale versus Kent. That's to me, I'm going to say 16 points to Armadale.
Oh, crikey. Are they still rubbish?
What, Armadale or Kent?
Kent.
I wouldn't say they're rubbish, but Armadale, I feel Armadale are quite strong at home. So, but yeah.
Armadale by 8.
I better go Armadale by 6.
Okay.
Oh, somebody's gone Kent by 6. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Which is where I know. Redcar versus Leicester.
Stop rubbing your hands together. Redcar by 4.
I'll go Leicester by 4.
I think it'll be called off because of the track.
Just let it go, for heaven's sake.
It's never going to happen.
Let it go. Let it go.
Oh, don't start singing, for goodness sake. Redcar versus Leicester, I'm going to say... Do you know what? I'll probably upset a lot of Redcar fans tonight, so... Leicester by 4.
Have I just done mine?
Yeah, you've done mine,
yeah. Okay.
Scunthorpe, I know that's a British Under-19 Championship. We aren't not doing that one. Leicester versus Poole. And
that's the Knockout Cup semi-final, by the way.
Is
that one
that
is.
down to me? No, yes, it's down to me, isn't it? Okay, well, it is now. I'm going to say Poole by 10.
Draw.
Ooh. Controversial.
I'll go Poole by 6.
Okay. Glasgow versus Leicester. That'll be a tasty.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Glasgow by 10.
Glasgow by 6.
And I'll say Glasgow by 10 as well. Newcastle versus Birmingham.
Yeah, hopefully people will get up to Newcastle on Sunday.
Yeah,
well.
I'm going to try my hardest to get there.
Yeah.
I'll go Birmingham by 4. There you go.
Not good enough.
Oh, sorry.
Birmingham by 8.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Birmingham winning that one. I'm going to go Birmingham by 8 as well.
We won't do Mildenhall versus Mildenhall.
Nah,
I think Mildenhall's going to win that one.
I do as well, yeah.
Yeah. Peterborough versus Sheffield, the return leg. That would be up to you,
Ooh.
Chris.
I'll go Peterborough by 8.
I'm going to say Peterborough by 12.
I'm going to say Peterborough by 10. Just done this out of top spot, haven't it? So.
Yeah. Kent versus Leicester. I will say Leicester by 4.
I'll say Kent by 10. That one.
I'll go Kent by 6.
Okay. And that's it. So
Oh, good.
Yep, and then
everybody else get your scores up on the group and we shall toss them up.
And we shall laugh at you. No, that's not what I was going to say. Right, shall we catch up with some of these comments that were...
Okay, I think they're mainly predictions, so if you can... Yeah, I think they're all predictions.
Okay, can we go to... can we not get to some of the previous ones? Because there's quite a few behind there.
I thought you'd gone through them all.
I'm not sure I did.
Okay.
There we go. Dylan Spuddy Hodgett says he wants to wish Richard Lawson well. Sad to see him get injured at Wolves last week. Doesn't have the best of luck there with the crash last week and his bike taking off over the centre green in
Yes, I can remember that. I think Porky remembers that as well.
Yeah,
Because it flew towards him.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, he's had a good season, hasn't he, Richard Lawson, to be honest. So that was a real shame for that. So.
Can you open that?
Oh, sorry, where are we
Well, not
down?
for me. I live in Newcastle and I know 90% of people.
Don't know it exists. So I did see that comment earlier.
Yeah. Oh,
We
this
had-
one. There it is. There you go.
That
one.
one. I don't even know it exists. Even though it's there, it's heartbreaking to watch I go. Do you know what? That's exactly the same experience I have in Birmingham. I've lost count. Even now, I can be talking about Birmingham Speedway, or I'll be walking around the shops with my Birmingham Speedway face mask on,
Yeah.
and people go, "Oh, I used to go and watch them. It's a shame they're not going anymore."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been going for 14 years.
It just, I don't know what. I don't know
There
what.
does
the
seem,
answer to
yeah,
that
that
is.
we've mentioned this before, haven't we? Though there does seem to be this element of a lot of these clubs just throw open the gates and hope people come in. So
Okay, Craig says, I don't think a referee... me and Craig are now having an argument, by the way. It's official.
try all you can while you're doing it. So.
No, just push me away, please. I don't think a referee needs to have ridden a bike. Anyone that watches Speedway can see if a track is bad or good. I still think riders from each team testing it before the meeting is the way forward. Well, I've had my say on that and why I think it's not a good idea. The reason I think a referee needs to have ridden the bike, actually a referee doesn't need to have ridden the bike. What I mean by that is that it's about perception, it's about trust, it's about riders not putting pressure on referees.
Yeah.
In that way. I mean, it wasn't nice what I witnessed on Wednesday, the pressure that was put on that referee. I would not have been that referee for all the money in China.
It's a thankless job, really, isn't it, being a referee?
And I don't blame the
Yeah,
referee
yeah,
for what happened, but I do blame the referee for a couple of naff decisions, but that's another...
I think it's the same in all sports, isn't it? I mean, who'd be a referee in anything?
So, I mean, riders from each team testing the track before they go.
No, I think that's like you say. I think that's open to a bit of abuse, to be honest. Although the perception of it, there's that word again. Perception of it being open to abuse is the main problem.
Craig Smee says, again, it comes down to promoting locally as well as collectively. It's the same in Manchester. People think the Ace is finished when Hyde Road went.
It's a fair point.
Yeah, it's mad.
It is a fair point, because I mean, whenever I've been up to Manchester, even since they've been in the new stadium, there's very little in the way of publicity for it or advertising in the centre of Manchester. It's not as if it's miles out of the city either. It's relatively close to the centre of Manchester, in the same way that Perry Barr is relatively close to the centre of Birmingham. So
it does. This sport is crying out for a Barry Hearn figure. It just really is somebody that says, right, this is the budget for doing this, and we'll do this advertising, we'll do that, and we'll get the newspapers, and
somebody who's prepared to gamble, basically. Yeah. Well, gamble, but not be too scared if they lose all the money.
Can we go? There was one back up there. There was one that I did see that I wanted to. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say that because it was quite funny. He was talking about the people, inspecting the track, and he says, "No problem, Calvin Tatum has his screwdriver." I just couldn't pass that one up. Would you like to read this one out for us?
Off topic a bit, but really want to get Wolves to sign Chase the Ace. He's fantastic and brought so much fun to a cold bank holiday night a couple of weeks ago.
Well, he's not as good as the original Mr. Wolf. Chase the Ace is probably the best Speedway mascot at the moment, but the original Mr. Wolf was top class. It was a shame really that Spike doesn't do it anymore. So, but I think that's a great point that Dylan's made, and I think you have to have interaction with mascots and the supporters to try and
if you're trying to, and I've said this before, I think that Speedway should be using technology a lot more.
Yeah.
So we should be having. People should be able to download an app that you can do their
scorecards
on. Which I mean, you can get, but one that's for your club that that updates things and.
I can't think of any Speedway clubs in this country that have got their own app. Glasgow, I think, might be the only one. Plenty of the Polish clubs have got them. So.
Right. Well, and I did raise this with I think it was with Lawrence, and he quoted me a ridiculous amount of money that it would cost.
Yeah.
And I spoke to my son, who's just finished at university, computer scientist.
You could do it quite cheaply.
Yeah.
That's what he didn't have the guts to say it while he was on the phone, did he?
I didn't ask him while he was on the phone. But I mean,
Lawrence.
But he's only quoting what's been quoted to him. To be fair, What's happening with Speedway of Nations riders pulling out all the time?
Yeah, no, Awesome Legator, he's pulled out, hasn't he? I think.
Don't know.
As far as I know.
Don't know why.
I know there's obviously the issue with Russia with the doping scandal, so they're not actually technically representing Russia, are they? So that's a shame, because it's a chance to, especially Artem Luguta could win the world championship this year, so there's a very, very rare chance to see him racing on a British track, and people are going to be buying tickets for the Speedo Nations. They're not going to be able to see him, so that's a real shame.
I would like your opinions on this, because I'm not allowed to give an opinion on this one. You know where I'm going. You know where I'm going, don't you?
Yeah.
Chase the Ace is by far the best mascot in Speedway, and Porky is, in my opinion, head and shoulders the best centre green presenter.
Porky, give Porky his due. He's enthusiastic. I know he's not everybody's
cup of tea.
It's fair to say. He's. That's
British Speedway needs a hard reset. It thinks it'll come to the point where it's either stick and lose it or twist and hope somebody takes the punt. Yeah, I think that's it. But is that person around?
I guess the one thing that we should say is this is nothing new. Speedway's been in this position before, and it came out of it.
Only to slip back again.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Porky's dad dancing is brilliant.
It wasn't brilliant a few years ago when he pulled a muscle in his leg doing it. So
It's a strange one, Porky.
Yeah.
I mean, I've met the bloke and you talk to him, and his persona as a presenter is very different.
it's very different. You know, he's very approachable actually when he's away from the. And he, I mean, you know, love him or hate him, he's very passionate about the sport. You know, and that's
and he does
that's
know
the
what
big
he's
plus.
talking about as well. It's not, he does know the sport really well.
I'm expecting my dad to be posting a comment about that as you say that.
Before we go, who do we think is going to win the Speedway Tavern League?
I don't think
Well, I don't think it's going to be any of us three, to be fair.
Yeah,
So,
I think we know, don't we?
yeah.
So do I need to start preparing the T-shirts?
However, I mean, it's got a bit closer, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's got a little bit closer now, hasn't it? Yeah, so, and how many weeks left? There's a few weeks left.
A few weeks left. We've got the playoffs to go as well.
Yeah, there's 3 fixtures on last week that were a bit of a coupon busters, weren't they? I mean, the Birmingham Red Car one, I think everybody went for a Birmingham win on that one.
It would have been a Birmingham win, I think. And that's the other thing that's really galling about that. I've got to let it go.
Let
if
it go.
if it hadn't been bladed back,
Let it go.
and then
I'm
we
gonna
was
play that
chasing
every time.
setups, we were very obviously. Yeah. Anyway, let's just let it go.
I need that one for you. No, the sad trouble.
Be interesting to see how teams are built next season. Saw Lynn have kept Tommy the Gun and Richard Lawson. Think Wolves will keep the bulk of their team, barring Rory and potentially one other rider, but hope the majority are retained.
Bear in mind that I think only Luke Becker is a Wolves asset, so that might obviously play a part in that. I think maybe Swindon come back if of course obviously we're still hopeful that they will come back. Maybe Nick Morris will go back there. You don't know. I don't think it's particularly likely Nick Morris would go back there, but I think the interesting one for me is going to be Brock Nickel. I think he's trying to make a point, isn't he now? So
Yeah.
Brock Nickel hasn't had a great run of form in the last few weeks of the season, so yeah. So, but hopefully we'll have done enough to have put ourselves in with a good chance of winning the league. But Peterborough at the moment, I think, if I say they look the edging the headers favourites at the moment.
Yeah. Every time you sing, Chris, my screen freezes.
That's the perfect note to leave it on, I think. So.
That's the perfect way to
I know he loves it really.
There's so many stuff coming through. Sorry we can't do any more, but it really is that time of day. Hope to see you all next week. Hope all your riders stay on the track. And I can't say my next thought, I'm sorry. I've got to let it go.
Let it go.
Please.
I'm not going to sing anything.
Take care, everybody. See you soon.
Good night.
Yeah, like.